How's it going, everyone? Hope you're all keeping well, and welcome to round 4 of the RTA Formula Vee Scholarship Championship. We're here at Brands Hatch at the Indy circuit today, one that we've raced at the last couple of seasons in RTA, but for the first time for me anyway, racing around here today, thankfully in the dry conditions. But before we get into this one, if you missed the last video around Silverstone, it went pretty well, I have to say, so make sure you check that one before we get into any spoilers in this one. But after 3 rounds, you can see the standings here, and with the podium in the third race at Silverstone, move into 9th place in the main standings, just a point behind Harvey Dara, who's a point behind Peter McCann, and just 30 points behind Campto Chukwa up at the top of the standings, overtaking Travis there in Silverstone. And then looking at just the scholarship standings, obviously Camptos leading the way there as well, just ahead of Travis. Jack Wynn overtaking Kevin Joyce for 3rd place, and then myself there in 5th. So it's very close in both of those, up around the top and down throughout the field. And here at Brands Hatch today, hopefully we can have another good round and get more good points and move further up the standings. So with that, let's head into qualifying. So starting what was my best lap in this qualifying session, as we started coming across the line down in 28th place, so definitely need a better lap than that. Managed to find a pretty nice place on the track, getting the slipstream of Sean McGoldrick and then Travis Mooney just ahead of him, so not a terrible place to be, getting the slipstream of the two of those. Through turn 2, the Druids hairpin run a little bit wider than I would have ideally liked, as we head downhill then into Graham Hill Bend. Cutting that corner and using all the AstroTurf on the outside as we get a nice run there, and we're up 7/10 on my previous best lap as we head through Surtees and into the final real corner of McLaren. Turning in again a little bit wider than I would have ideally liked, but we get a good run out, and more importantly we have the slipstream of Sean McGoldrick on the run up to the line. And as we come across, going to improve by just over 8/10, nearly 9/10, and set a 54.239, and only putting myself in P18, so not the greatest performance by myself there. Up at the front though, Kevin Joyce putting it on pole, great lap by him there, getting the perfect slipstream and putting it together when it really mattered. Looking back at myself from 18th place, going to have to put a lot of hard work in to try and make a few places around here where it's not the easiest to try and overtake. So as the lights come on for the first race here at Brands Hatch Indy, the lights go off. Don't get the best start, the car kind of pulled to the left as I dropped the clutch and didn't go forward as much as I would have liked. As we head into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time, we had Pavlo Kishkan looking down our inside. He then turns to the outside, gets great run through there, as does Campto Chukwa, who down around me as well, so he didn't have the best qualifying session. And really just a bit too timid there by myself in turn 1, allowing the two lads to pretty much go around my outside as Campto gets the move done into Graham Hill Bend, as I think that's Robbie Callahan off on the exit of turn 3, so lost 2 positions there in the opening lap, gained another one back, but hasn't been the best start. Skipping ahead a little bit then to the end of lap 3, everyone still very close, pretty much from Darragh O'Connor behind me all the way up to Jordan Kelly in the lead is in this one big train now. And with the slipstream around here, not too many heavy braking zones or places where you can try and make an overtake, it is difficult to make passes. So really you have to try and make passes by other people having issues. That was Dermot Toomey and Pablo, I think, coming together, and somebody else going for a spin going down the hill on the exit of Paddock Hill, so get another 2 spots there for free. Then skip on just a little bit later on this lap, again going into the last corner. Had to kind of turn out of my turning point there. I was afraid I was going to hit into the back of Campto, and obviously that has meant I had a worse exit, and we have Darragh O'Connor on my inside. Luckily, as we head towards turn 1, the slipstream comes in my favour from Harvey Dara, so we're just ahead heading into turn 1. But as I turn in, we make contact with Dara.
We got damage on the front end.
As you can hear there, I do have some damage to the car, but as we look at our replay here, on board with Dara, you can see as we go into the corner, pausing it here, where we make contact, Dara is a little bit off the line of the other car, so he's drifting a little bit too wide. I was going to be leaving him a car's with a space there, and just a bit of an unfortunate racing incident. Two of us coming together, and yeah, that was pretty much it for that first race. Then for myself, skipping ahead to the end, we finish in P15, so moved up 3 places, which is nice, but probably could have been a few more in that one. After that collision with Dara, I lost the slipstream from all the cars ahead, and once that happens, you really have no chance around here to try and catch back up. So difficult race there for myself, but still in a better position to start from for race 2. For race 2 then, the red lights come on the right hand side of the grid for this one, as the lights go green. Once again the car pulling to the left as I drop the clutch. I don't know if that's from what way I'm stopping the car at the end of the previous race or at the end of qualifying, or what it is that's causing the car to do that, but it is kind of affecting my starts a little bit, or maybe it's just the way the track is here at Brands Hatch. Heading into Druids for the first time, saw Emma Dempsey behind, had a little bit of a run out of the first corner, so went a little bit defensive there to block off any opportunity of her going for a dive down the inside. And we did lose a little bit of ground to the cars ahead, but obviously everyone's so close here on lap 1, going 2 wide, 3 wide at some points. It's pretty easy to catch back up. Catch back up nearly a little bit too much there to Tony Griffin. Have to turn out of it once again in the final turn to avoid hitting into the back of him, and that has allowed Emma to get a bit of a run. I think she might just have a little bit of an overlap, but we are well ahead heading into turn 1. So we go a little bit wide to make sure Emma doesn't go down our inside, and we hold on to that position as somebody was off the track there on the exit of Paddock Hill. So we gain a position, and again into Druids going defensive on Emma to hold on to P14. Skip ahead to the start of lap 5 then. I think we gain 2 more positions from some other incidents, but it's all been pretty calm for the last couple of laps, just sitting in the slipstream of Tony and the cars ahead. But it's all starting to get a bit closer than it has been now. Had the little look on Tony in Druids, he went a tad bit wide, but not wide enough for us to try and get an overtake done. As we close up right to the back of him, heading into McLaren, the final corner here at the Indy circuit. I take a bit of a wider line going into that one on this occasion to try and set up a better exit, almost like a little bit of a switchback, see if we can get close to Tony. But with the slipstream that I have, he has that as well. We're still going to have a little look down the inside of the first corner. We try and carry as much speed as I can through that one, but the outside line, Tony's able to get on the power a little bit earlier, carry a bit more speed, so we're side by side heading into Druids. I have the inside line, so I really should get this move done, but Tony's able to hang it around the outside, turns to the inside for Graham Hill, and I kind of backed out with that one. I wasn't too fond of going around the outside there and having a bit of a collision at this stage of the race, so just backing out, going back in behind Tony to have a little look up the inside of McLaren. Wasn't really going to go for a move there, but just seeing if having the nose up the inside would present any opportunity, which it did not. Skip ahead another couple of laps then on to lap 9. Again, having a little look up the inside of Druids on Tony, who goes a lot wider on this occasion, but again he's able to hold the inside line for turn 3 and hold on to that position. So we slot back in behind again as we fast forward ahead throughout this lap, heading on to lap 10. Not quite close enough to Tony to make a move into turn 1, so have to try and see if we can get a move into turn 2. And I see the space open up, so I go for a dive. There's a spinner up ahead, there's cars stopped all over the track. Jack ahead gets spun around in front of me. I couldn't avoid him.
Clear.
Then our cars get comically stuck together and not able to pull apart. They're in reverse trying to get away from Jack there, but end up having to reset to the pits. Have a look at our replay, then you can see all that started with Sean McClemmons getting tipped around, and then Sean decided to drive forward. You can see here on board with Dara. Sean not holding his brakes like he should have done, came back onto pretty much the racing line, and then it was just a case of a lot of cars behind not able to avoid the cars in front that being involved with everything. So unfortunate one there, and that was the end of my race then. Got towed to the pits, got repaired and came back out down in P26 and just circulated around then to the end of that 15 minutes. Come across the line to finish just behind Kevin Joyce, albeit a lap or two behind in P26. So very disappointing one for myself there. Obviously not getting any points in that one, and it looked like I was on for a pretty good result until that incident in the hairpin. Very close up at the front, Jordan Kelly taking the win over Dylan McClemmons by 200ths of a second, and then just another 200th back to Brandon McCotton. So photo finish between the three of them for which step on the podium they're going to be taken. But for myself, down in P26, and that means that's where we'll have to start for race 3. So have to see if we can have some kind of a recovery drive to get some decent points. But unfortunately, as we go to the lights, you can see here in neutral have forgot to shift into first gear. So when I dropped the clutch, the car went nowhere, and then when I eventually got into first, didn't have much traction, and everyone that was behind us is now in front of us as I drop back into last place. So things are only going from bad to worse here at Brands Hatch this evening. We do get 2 places from a couple of cars off in the gravel on the exit of turn 1, but back in turn 1 on the very next lap, I think that was Pablo who was after having a spin on the exit of Paddock Hill, and on board with myself for the replay. Here is when Pablo starts to spin before the on. This is pretty much when I had to decide what I was going to do, but it wasn't really until here where I actually saw Pablo on the track, and at that point there wasn't a whole lot I could have done. If I broke, I still would have hit into him. I didn't have enough time to go to the left or to the right, and in the end it was a very uneventful race for myself, driving around with nobody around me for 20 odd minutes and finished down in P27. So not a lot of action in that one, unfortunately, and it does mean that 2 races in a row getting no points, which obviously isn't great. Up at the front, Jordan Kelly taking another victory here in Brands Hatch, going from reverse grid P8 up to the win. Travis Mooney then in second, and Canto Chukwa rounding out the top 3. Peter McCann having a great race in that one, up 16 spots to P4. Diarmuid Toomey up a good few as well, as was Kevin Joyce. And what all this means for the championship standings is that Travis Mooney takes over the lead from Campto, Conor Melia moving up into the top 3, and for myself going down out of the top 10, dropping 3 spots to 12th place. Still very close in and around the back end of the top 10 and into the top half of the top 10 as well, just 6 points behind Sean McGoldrick, who's level on points with Peter McCann and Dylan McClemmons. So with another half of the season to go, there's definitely opportunities to move back up in the table. And then in the Scholarship Championship, I do move down a spot there as well, as does Kevin Joyce ahead of me, Jean Sautevello overtaking the 2 of us, and then mirroring the overall standings, Travis Mooney overtaking Canto Chukwa as well, with Jack Wynne remaining in 3rd place. Lawrence is also just a couple of points behind me as well, and then there's a pretty big gap back down to Robbie Callahan. So it's all very close throughout the field, still a lot to fight for in the final 4 rounds. Hopefully this ends up being my worst of the races this season, and it can be used as my drop round, but I'll have to wait and see how things turn out in the final 4 races. Just keep my head down and try and get the best results that I can. But that is it for this one. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're not already, so you don't miss the rest of this season. Until the next time, thanks for watching and see you then.